Good afternoon. Welcome to Crash Course Foundation Directory Online. My name is Trey Gwynn. Hold on, I have a slide for this. I'm juggling too many things. My name is Trey Gwynn. I'm the Technology and Outreach Coordinator for the Rutherford County Library System. Today's class will cover how to navigate one of the newest databases available at the Technology Engagement Center, the Foundation Directory Online. Now, just a quick reminder of two things. One, this is not a grant writing class. You don't, trust me, you do not want me writing grants for you anyways. It is just a quick overview of how the FDO works and what it can do for you. If you're interested in taking a grant writing course, keep an eye on our calendar. We'll probably have one coming up in the next quarter or so. Now the question is, what is the Foundation Directory Online? It is literally what it says it is. It is what it says on the tin. It is a directory of foundations. Now, what does that mean? It means that it is a vast repository with granular information on funders, grant recipients, and it allows users to build effective databases of new prospects and contacts that can then be leveraged to increase the funding of nonprofit organizations. So it gives you funding bodies, it gives you receiving bodies, it gives you information about those bodies, and then it also gives you information about who's given what whom and how much and who else have they given money to. And so it's as we'll talk about in a minute, even though it doesn't have specific funding opportunities, it has all the information you need to kind of find those specific funding opportunities. Hold on one moment. I have, in trying to set up my, there we go. Sorry, I needed to move my microphone and then I messed everything up. So the FDO arranges their information in 4 categories: grant makers, grant recipients, grants, and 990s. So in order, you have the people that gave the grants, the people that received the grants that were, notice the past tense, were awarded from group 1 to group 2, and tax info that details all of that information, but in a less user-friendly form. But that's where the FDO got it from. So not only does the FDO take all that information from the tax forms, the 990s, they take all of that and then they chop it up to make it easier for you to understand, and then they, because of transparency, for transparency's sake, they give you that information in a big fire hose of the 990s if you want to comb through it. Even though the FDO is not a directory of available grants, it gives you all the information you need to piece together a database of funding opportunities and contacts. Sometimes it may feel like you're a conspiracy theorist piecing together all the bits and pieces of information that are needed on the FDO, but the genius of the database is that it gives you everything you need to triangulate grants, funders, and grant recipients, allowing you to hone in on the funding bodies that you want to target with your fundraising efforts. And I know that all of this probably sounds very abstract, but as we go forward, it will make more sense, because what you'll find is that the FDO gives you all the information you need to find the people that are. It lets you find organizations that are similar to yours, find out who's giving them money, find out how you can get in touch with the people that are connected with that organization, and how to prepare your portfolio so that you can be ready to ask for those funds when the time comes. I need to move hold on, I gotta move my little picture. I might just make my picture go away. Hold on one second. Class. You all don't need to see me. There we go. Boom. Okay. So the Foundation Directory Online works a lot like a search engine. But before we even talk about that, let's talk about how to even get to the FDO. One moment. I had all this set up and it has undone itself for some reason. Oh no, I know what's happened. Sorry, I'm juggling like 4 screens right now to make this work. Boom. Okay. So the FDO is available thanks to a generous grant from the Christie Houston Foundation, but it is unlike a lot of the other databases in our system. It is only available at the Technology Engagement Center. That means that you can access it if you come and use either one of our computers at the Technology Engagement Center, or come bring your laptop and put it on the Technology Engagement Center's Wi-Fi. The IP address of the Technology Engagement Center will allow you to access the FDO. So let me show you how to get there from our website. So when you're here at the Tech physically, what you can do is you can go to our website, rclstn.org, and then you can go to online resources, this button right here, scroll down, and Foundation Directory Online is right here. And if you click on that, it'll open up a new window, or a new tab in my case, and it will bring up the Foundation Directory Online. Now the Foundation Directory Online works a lot like your favorite search engine. You take it, you fill in search parameters, and then it will take you to the algorithmically based best results. So, for example, since I'm at a library, if I wanted to look up library funders in that search engine, I could look up library and hit search, and it will find people who have been giving money to libraries. So, for example, we have 1,274 grant makers giving over 3,000 grants to 1,500 different libraries, and then all of that information can be found here at these 990s. So if we scroll down, here is a list of the grants given. So obviously here in Tennessee, the Oregon Community Foundation isn't going to do us any good, but they've been giving a ton of money to Oregon-based libraries. Of course, the Tennessee has their own community foundation. And then you'll notice that they have, not only do they have the 4 tabs up here that you can click on, and it will take you to each of those things. You also have each of those broken down into little categories below. So you've got grant makers, you've got grants, you've got recipients, and then you've got those 990s from before. And so this opens up the information that you need to begin searching whittling down what it is you're looking for. So, for example, if I wanted to continue with my example of looking for the libraries, I would actually want to narrow that down even more. So I'd go to Advanced Search and Filters up here. You'll notice that gives me way more search options that I can then use to cull down my list, right? So I've got geographic focus. I'm going to put in Tennessee, and it gives me, I put in TE, it gives me Tennessee as an option. Let's say I also want to look for funders in Tennessee. And then I can say that I'm looking for, let's say I want to serve adolescents, okay? That is going to really narrow down what I'm looking for. So remember, we've got 1,200 grant makers, 3,000 grants, 1,500 recipients. Now that we've added those focuses, right, it's going to narrow it down to to zero. That may be because I got too specific. Let's take adolescents back out of there. Let's take the location out of there, and let's hit search again, and hopefully, there we go. Still not a ton, but 21 grant makers, 29 grants, and 15 recipients. And if you're familiar with Tennessee, there should be some familiar names on there. The HCA, Dollywood Foundation, Nashville Public Library. And so by using advanced search, right, I was able to up my search game significantly. You can get even more granular than that, because down here, right here, is additional filters, and you can get real granular with the information, right? So I could choose grant amount. I could even choose the years that people were receiving grants, going back all the way back to 2003. I could even put in a keyword. So I'm going to put in computers because I'm at the Technology Engagement Center. That seems like a good thing to do. I'm going to hit search again. There we go. And that brought me, I lost some of my other, okay, well, hold on a second. For some reason, it lost my library thing, so okay, we're back to here. I'm going to put in Tennessee. I'm going to go to advanced filters. I'm going to type in computer. Let's see. That should do better. I don't know why it lost my other stuff, but there we go. And it brings me down to 1. It brings me down to 1, but that's okay. Like, because what you're trying to do is you're going to try to take the information that you find and kind of create a database, right? If you get too granular, you can always take a step back. Just because I specifically put in computers doesn't mean that that this one grant maker and grant recipient are the only people out there doing computer grants. It just means that it was the only one that had that specific keyword. So I'm going to delete computers, and I'm just going to go back to the more robust search results here. So we've done all this, and we've talked about the searching aspects, and all that should be pretty straightforward if you've used a search engine, especially a powerful search engine that allows you to cull through databases by getting more and more granular. That should be pretty commonplace for us at this point in 2020, in the digital age. None of that is crazy. So where things get really interesting for the FDO are when you actually go to the specific funders. So for specific funders and specific recipients, that's where you can unlock all kinds of valuable information. So, for example, I'm going to click on HCA Foundation just because it's a local Tennessee foundation. And once you click on it, it brings up this screen, and there's so much interesting stuff on this screen. It tells you what they're funding. It tells you exactly how much they've spent funding these things. So, for example, let's say education. They've done $4 million, almost $5 million. No, just a little over $4 million using in education. They have mostly funded stuff in Tennessee, and it looks kind of like New York, which is interesting, but mostly Tennessee. And their grants tend to be under $5,000. So they do bigger ones, but the main thing you're going to get from them is the vast majority of their grants are under $5,000 or under. And so this information is key to helping you build your database, because you could put in all kinds of esoteric search terms and find some random group that funds some very specific thing. But if you come to this screen and find out that they literally only give grants to people in California, then you're going to be barking up the wrong tree. Or say you are a library that, or say you are a nonprofit that has a smaller operating budget, right? $10,000, $15,000, $40,000, up to $100,000. It is unlikely that a funder that only deals in $1 million grants is going to be interested in trusting you with that kind of money. And it's not impossible. And like I said, this is not a grant writing class. I'm just saying that this information that you're seeing helps you figure out what you want to do. So like for example, or it helps you figure out who you want to contact, right? So for example, like say you were working for a nonprofit that was some sort of environmental concern, right? HCA has given a little under $1 million over the last 20 years to fund environmental concerns, but it is certainly not their area of focus. So while you might keep them on your database of foundations that you're trying to reach out to, you might also put them as a lower priority, because that's just clearly not the kind of money, the kind of thing that they're funding very often. But if you scroll down, the wonderful information continues. Not only do you have a list of not only do you have a list of all the grants that they've given, going back to 2003. Right now, because we specifically got to HCA, because I searched for libraries, it's only going to show the 2 that they've ever given to libraries that are in the database. But if you were to go to the Foundation directory online front page and just look up HCA, it would have all of the grants that they've given in the last 20 years. If you keep scrolling down, you get more information about their funding interests, their geographic focus, population groups. It's a lot of the same information from above, but just laid out a little bit differently. You have below that, you have related organizations. So remember, one of the things that I said that the FDO is going to allow you to do is to triangulate between between funders and recipients of funds to find similar institutions to funders and similar institutions to you, because if you can find if a nonprofit in the next county over that is very similar to you is getting money from a specific funder, then that means that you should probably target that funder as well, depending on their geographic focus, right? Similarly, if there is another organization that you have already had success with that shares a lot of the same DNA, they're giving money to the same kind of things, they're giving money to the same groups, they're giving money to the same geographic focus, then you can add that group to your list. And so this related organization tab lets you jump from organization to organization that is similar, right? In the about, you can find out what's the HCA's deal and what other organizations, what is their deal, what is their background. So if I click on that, it was established in 1992 in Kentucky. Some of these things on the FDO, or some of these pages on the FDO, are going to have more information than others. You kind of just have to go with what you get. Here is another group of funders to consider. So you have another group of funders. In fact, I got those mixed up. Related organizations is organizations that are literally related. So you'll notice that they're all HCA up there. I jumped the gun when I was talking about similar institutions. These are the similar institutions. And you'll find this on every institution, every funder's page. You'll find institutions that share a lot of the same focus that you can jump to add to your database of people that you're going after to find funds. Here are some common applications and RFPs for HCA. These are all the things you would need to apply for an HCA grant. You'll notice that it even gets as granular as saying when the board meeting dates are. So again, not a specific grant. This isn't like click here to apply to X grant. This is saying this is how you build a profile that you would then send to the HCA. Here's some financial information about their 2018 fiscal year. That's probably the most recent that is in here. Yes, 2018. Just so you have some information. Obviously, if either of these numbers was trending towards zero, you probably would not want to try to hitch your wagon to an organization like that or expect money from them. Then, depending on how well connected your nonprofit is, here is maybe the most important thing that the FDO can show you. This is the board of the HCA Foundation. And so if you have any connections to these folks from your board or from community members, it's a good way to build a relationship with the funder. And if you click on, if you click on this little LinkedIn link right here, and you're logged into LinkedIn, it will show you how many degrees of separation you are away from these board members. So if you're LinkedIn friends, is that what they call them on LinkedIn? I don't know. If you're connected to someone on LinkedIn from an old job or from something, and they're connected to one of these people, it will show you where those connections are so that you might be able to leverage them into contact. Here's how to get in touch with HCA. Or no, I'm sorry. Here's how to get in touch with the HCA down here, like their socials. This is their front-facing publications that they do as a corporate body, and then this is how to get in touch with them directly. And every funder is going to be laid out essentially in that same way. Some will have more information, some will have less, some will have way more in that like about section that I clicked on, where it literally just said that they were established in 1992 in Kentucky. Some will have huge paragraphs there, some won't, like this, but some won't even have as much information as you've seen from the HCA page. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of information that you can glean from the HCA or from a funder's page. A similar thing can be said for the grant recipients pages. So I'm going to click on Dollywood Foundation. They've received a lot of money over the years for the Imagination Library and for the books that Dolly sends out to people, or to children, not to people. So here's a specific grant from a few years ago that the Hollywood Foundation received from the Harrison County Community Foundation. It tells you when, it tells you why, it tells you who the population groups were, it tells you even what kind of transaction grant it was. And so this allows you to see to see direct connections between a funder and a recipient. And what you can do is then you can click on the recipient and it will take you to their page. And every nonprofit, my understanding is, and I haven't ever tested this out, but my understanding is that every nonprofit that files a 990 can be found here on the FDO. So even if you have a tiny little nonprofit that you're running, you're on here somewhere. You may have to put in the exact right terms to find you, but you're on here. This is the Dollywood Foundation. This is information about where they get their funding, the grant amounts and what they're going to. You can even see number of grants. Here it goes. Being a little slow, but there we go. You have a similar thing right here, but it's for where our funders located. So the vast majority of grants are from within the United States. A few are from within the same state, and a few are within the same region. So that would be like the U.S. is 66% comes from the U.S., 10% comes from Tennessee, and then 23% comes from the Southeast. No, that's embarrassing. The Southeast. I know where Tennessee is. I've lived here my entire life. I promise. And then again over here you can see how big the grants are. The vast majority again are grants that are less than $5,000, but they have a few that are pretty large. And then as you scroll down, you can see who you have a list of all the different grants. You have again another list of all the different grants that have given money to the Dollywood Foundation. You have what the Dollywood Foundation's funding interests are. You can find the 2017 financial information about the Dollywood Foundation. You can find where it is and the website, and then you have and that gives you information that you can use to contact them. And so again, the FDO is such a powerful tool, but it's kind of an indirect tool. So you're using it to find information that then you can leverage to get grants. So for example, going back to my original example, right? I typed in library, but this time I'm actually going to type in the Nashville. My microphone is in the way. I didn't really think through this. The, 'Library'. 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 'Library I'm going to go down here to the Nashville Public Library Foundation. Under I'm kind of taking a roundabout way to get to it because I went to a grant that they received in 2019 from Dollar General. But here's Nashville Public Library. Now, as someone that works for the Rutherford County Library, why would I be interested in what the Nashville Public Library is receiving from people? It's because if Nashville and Rutherford County are geographically close enough that it is likely that any foundation, any grant maker that is giving money to the Nashville Public Library would at least be someone that would be worth me looking into contacting to see if they'd be interested in giving money to me. And I could add their funders to my list of people to kind of keep in my mind, right? So for example, you'll notice that the Dollar General Literacy Foundation has given them money 3 times over the last year at least, just from what we're seeing here. So obviously, the Dollar General Literacy Foundation would be a great starting point for someone looking for grants at the Rutherford County Library System. So if I click on Dollar General, it'll take me to the grant, which then gives me the connection between the recipient, the amount, and then the grant maker. So I click on that. Now I can go to the Dollar General Literacy Foundation. It gives me general information, largely giving money to education stuff, education programs, a lot of grants in Tennessee, Florida, and Texas. No real surprise there. A couple of other states. Grants are mostly less than $5,000. Scroll down, you'll see a lot of Nashville Public Library. Remember, that's because I specifically looked up libraries, and specifically I looked up Nashville Public Library, and that's how we got here. The grant results are going to change based on what you have searched for, and you can actually, if I click, I'm not going to do it, but if I clicked right here, it would clear all that, and I would be able to see all of the grants that the Literacy Foundation has done. But then if I scroll down, one of the very first things that I would do personally, if I was thinking about trying to get money from the Dollar General Literacy Foundation, I would go down here to the governing body and see who my board, my library board, my library foundation, my director, how we could make connections with these folks, so that we can bend the ear of people tied to this foundation. And so it's a little hard to explain the value of the FDO because, and I know I keep saying that, but it really is like my wife is a grant writer, and I had to have her explain to me why this is a useful thing, because I sat there looking at it for forever thinking, well, I need grants, and this isn't going to give me specific grants. I need a list of grants. And she said, and she's the one that finally showed me that that's not, that's not the value of the FDO. The value of the FDO is that it's this powerful way to gather information. And in the grant writing game, information is everything. Because yeah, you could jump around from foundation to foundation website, looking for stuff piecemeal, or there are companies, their websites that gather new grants and email them out and stuff like that. But Foundation Directory Online is a giant pipeline of information, and it gives you all this information so that you can build your network. You can build your database of contacts and foundations and funding opportunities, and so it's way more powerful than just a literal list of grants, because it gives you so much more than that. And it is available here at the Tech. It is the Technology Engagement Center is one of the only places in Middle Tennessee that has the FDO available. It is 100% free for people to use. All you have to do is be here in person to be able to use it. I hope that what I've taught you or what I've showed you today is helpful. Of course, if you come into the Tech to take a look at the FDO, the Foundation Directory Online, the folks that work here will be glad to at least help get you started. That's as much as they can do, because they are also not grant writers, but they can at least get you to the web page and you can start looking around. Just remember that that you need to be a good note taker when you're working with it, because what you have to do is you have to gather that information so that you can then leverage it to your advantage. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a good day. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy, and we'll see you at the